Well, impromptu intro time, but oh, it's finally happening. Yes, this is episode 4 and I'm going to tackle the oscillators, the string synth wave shapers, the envelopes and gating circuits of the Elka Concorde. And that means it's actually gonna make its first sounds ever since I started, well, taking it apart really. It's super exciting and well, without further ado, let's get cracking on those oscillators because it was actually quite a bit of work. Whew. Another thing I need to work on is top octave generator, because the original chips are kind of unobtainium and very expensive. Kind of want to find a cheap but easy to make solution, which might also be interesting for other people DIYing organs or repairing organs. So yeah, so I'm looking at lots of options, lots of chips, looking at my suppliers and. Okay, I have decided to put the rest of the sockets on there. I had the notion that it would be cool to just fully restore this. Instead of having the original ICs on here, though that's of course possible now, I'll make little adapter boards for the new modern replacements of those ICs. I think that would be a much better idea, because if I or any future owner of this Elka ever decides that they want the original chips in here, they can just pop out the new stuff and pop in the old stuff, basically. Okay, I have decided. Screw it, I'm gonna use 40/40 counters, both to make divide by n counters to basically make the top octave, as well as normal binary counters to generate all the octaves. Okay, I got my packet of diodes, so it's time to test the 40/40 divide by n counter theory. 1903 Hertz tone going on here, which is C7 on the chromatic scale. Just done with the 40/40 and diodes, and it's then divided by 2 ones. So the actual note generated by the note generator 40/40 is actually C8 then. And that then goes to this 40/40 setup as a frequency divider, which gives you C7 at 2 kHz more or less. So yeah, that does work. Well, I soldered together the first note generator and octave divider, and they're working. So yeah, now I just need to make 12 more. Okay, all these are for wires now. And now it's just soldering it on the board here. So that's gonna be another 96 solder connections. So that's already 184 in total. Well, I tested all 96 connections and they all work. I can't believe it. That's a good feeling. I haven't really checked the frequencies, but I'll do that when everything's put together, so I can actually put a tuner on there. That's a little bit easier than checking it with the scope and checking the frequencies chart and so. But yeah, all the outputs work. They all look good. So time to wire up that thing. Okay, well, with the frame painted and cleaned up, it's time to assemble this thing. I got a photo of before I took it apart, and hopefully that will help me figure this thing out. But there's a very distinct pattern to this, luckily, so that should make it fairly easy. Hardest part is getting these little springs to behave, honestly. But other than that, yeah, I'm getting there. A mystery solved with the little broken connecting rod here. These pieces are not supposed to have one, such as this one. See, it's the same piece. It doesn't have a connecting rod, it just has the hole. So what I think what happened is that whoever assembled this accidentally put a connecting rod in there And they just were like, well, I'm just gonna snip this off and put this in anyways, it will be fine. And it is fine, but yeah, it's a funny little mistake that. Phew. Well, that's it all done. There's still 2 levers that are kind of stiff, see? But the rest is all good. So that was a lot of work. Okay, I have a lot of bending and adjusting. I had to make all these things flush with all these holes, otherwise they would, you know, scrape against this plastic frame, causing friction and this keypad not being properly playable, but it's pretty good now. Oh, this is this is really annoying to do. I have to get all these springs into these tiny little holes, and yeah. Well, luckily I'm not in a hurry. I did it. Yay. Okay, refurbished treble keyboard. Refurbished and somewhat DIY oscillators, and refurbished, well, not entirely refurbished, but mostly refurbished string synth. And this mess down here is me trying to sort out all the cables, primarily all the white and rainbow colored wires. They're all like linked together over here. Let me there. See, this is all tied together. So I'm actually sinning a little bit and cutting some of these wire looms. They're very nicely done, but they're very impractical because everything is tied together. Okay, well, it's not the best view of it, but since I removed the loom here on this piece of the cabling, this is the switches cabling, I need to make a new wire loom. So that's what I'm doing just now. And then actually move the wire through itself. Yeah, a little bit forwards. Yeah. Now it's time for the next one. So this is how I do it. Anyways. You can see it works quite well. Of course, this wire is this is just for sewing, so that's perhaps not the best material for it. I don't know. It's very sturdy material though, so yeah. But oh well. So yeah, just keep looping it through itself. Okay, that's a new loom on these cables. Here. So and yeah, this is now entirely separated. The rest of the cables here in this mess. So yeah, that's the entire oscillator and switching and wave shaping section separated from the rest. Now I just yeah, let's put this together somehow. Okay, so I soldered all these, only to discover that I accidentally skipped this one, so I have to redo all of these. Fucking yay. Okay, I've cleaned up my desk, and because it was a bit of a nuclear wasteland, if you will. And yeah, now I'm ready to start testing. Let me give a basic rundown of how all of this works. Basically, this is the core of the entire Elka synthesizer. This is where all the notes are generated and where all the basics happen, really. So of course it all starts here. These are the oscillators. Well, now my DIY version of them. This is a master oscillator at 2 MHz, which then goes to a top octave generator and octave dividers. Well, usually, in my case, it goes through a bunch of binary counters which are set up as divide by n to generate each of the notes, and then more binary counters to generate all the octaves. So this produces all the notes in the entire synth. All the notes produced here are just plain old square waves with a duty cycle of 50%. Because yeah, it's basically just digital logic to generate notes. Now of course square waves aren't very exciting, so what first happens, let's first go to the string synth. Through these rainbow colored wires, all the square waves enter here and they go through all these individual boards. Now these are 53 boards for 53 notes, which are the 53 notes of the treble keyboard. Each of these individual boards turns the square waves into 2 sawtooths. So one for the 16 foot and one for the 8 foot. These sawtooths get gated, and they also get an envelope applied to them for the sustain. And this happens by a very simple capacitor envelope. Just a capacitor that gets instantly charged when you press a key and then slowly discharges as you release the key. This also generates the sound for the piano and clavinet, since those are those same sawtooths, just filtered differently further down the line. The piano and clavinet are different in that they don't have a sustain envelope but rather a decay one. It's a simple capacitor envelope. You press a key, capacitor gets instantly charged, but in this case it also immediately starts discharging, and then over a set amount of time. So here I've simulated the Elka Concorde switching and wave shaping circuits. So that is this circuit over here. So at the top left we have the 16 8-foot frequency inputs. But you also can see on the inputs here we have square waves between 0 and minus 12 volts. And those get wave shaped over here through a capacitor. So this little part over here is basically just a release envelope. Here, which is the drawbar organ, so again it goes through the rainbow wires, actually splits off here and then goes under here to all the footages of the drawbar organ. Now this thing is a little bit more complex. It also produces 53 notes, again for the treble keyboard. However, since it's an organ we're talking about, it needs to make different combinations of notes for the various footages, because you can have multiple notes playing at the same time in an organ. That's basically how an organ works. You play a C note, for example, and then it also sounds a G note, and then C in a higher octave, and C in a lower octave, and all that sound, all those notes stack up together to create the organ sound. So there's a lot of mixing and matching going on here. So it produces 16 foot, 8 foot, 5 and a third foot, 4 foot, 2 and 2/3 of a foot, 2 foot, 1 and 3/5 of a foot, 1 and 1/3 of a foot, and 1 foot. So that's a lot of feet. Now I haven't actually measured the waveforms that this outputs, but I think it's just filtered square waves. So sort of semi-sine wave, I'm gonna guess. But we'll find out as I start testing this with the oscilloscope. Now the outputs of these two boards go to various other parts of the synth. They go to the drawbars for further filtering and mixing, goes through dual chorus effect that the string synth has, more filtering, and all sorts of shenanigans happen. Outputs from both these boards also go to the chords circuitry, which is kind of similar in that it switches various combinations of notes to produce chords. It also goes to the backing track circuitry. It automatically generates you know, melodies and rhythms according to what you play. So of course, you know, all notes from here are used from that too. So basically, if this doesn't work, the synth, except for the mono synth and the drums, will not work at all. Here we have a bit of an overview of my oscilloscope screen. So here we have diode D6. And that is the diode for the piano and clavinet. And if I press the key, you can see, there we go. That's the attack and decay envelope. So I press the key lots of times. See it decaying every time. So that's working. You can see a beautiful envelope. Now, of course, since all the voltages are negative in this thing, it's inverted. Okay. One monstrosity, one breadboard that I always use for audio, and well, one cable going to my sound card. And well, I suppose this is a finger. This is the moment of truth, not my finger, but it's a finger too. Let's see. Oh yeah, this button is actually not connected to anything, so. Ooh. Well, something's not quite right there, but okay. This key I need to fix. That's okay. Sustain is working too. Oh my god! You have no idea how happy this makes me. This finally some good sounds, and you hear it. It's definitely some sawtooth goodness. So I need to open the tuner in my DAW on my computer, and I need to first I need to fix that one dead note. Okay, I've been comparing some of the notes it plays, and I think my accordion keyboard is a type B. Now, I know nothing of accordions, mind you, so this was a little bit of a confusing thing for me. I definitely got the key colors all wrong, that's for sure. So I need to redo that, which kind of sucks. But yeah, this should be then an octave. Let's see. Okay, so all the notes are in tune now. I had to fix some soldering mishaps in note C. There was a little solder bridge there, so it was just the wrong frequency. But yeah, all the notes are in tune now. Still something wrong with the octaves there. Like, I don't know. It sounds kind of cool, but I'm not sure if this is correct. So I need to look up some videos of, I need to look up some tutorials on how to play this. Look, even Tim is confused. Also, great band, check them out. Super underrated and great album this. I've been listening to it for 3 days now. Well, I had to rearrange some wires to fix the weird octaves, and now... Ta-da! So, with the string synth working, it's of course time to tackle the organ. So yeah, envelopes and gating, and also mixing. But hey, where are the other octaves? Nothing's happening. Well, I'm gonna let you guess. There's 5.5 octaves. Notice something particular about this arrangement. Yeah, you probably guessed it. Each of these sections is for 1 octave, and well, the last one being the half octave, that's the 5th octave. Anyways, time to test all of these, and somehow fix this molten connector. I have no idea what happened here. I'm pretty sure there was a board in here, because here it is. I have no idea how this got molten, but it did. So it's also the only connector that's molten, it seems. This seems fine. Just this one, I guess. So I kind of have to melt it again and kind of get it into shape somehow. Yeah. Okay, I modeled a little cap for one of the connectors, which is broken. Like this connector is just it's just completely snapped and broken. Actually, very easily pull this out now. You can see that it's just it's just flapping in the breeze. I already printed one version of the little cap. The idea is that it just slides on here and keeps this together, because other than this being broken, this connector is fine. Made a little mistake here though, so I'm gonna put the first version here, put the other one which is more sturdier here, and there we go. That should keep this connector held together. Yay for 3D printing. And this one can go in there, and then this final row needs to be done. Okay, I have an A card here, and yeah, look at this top bit. It seems to be cut or damaged. But if I compare this to a C type card that has the cut at the same location. So I think somebody actually went and took an A card and turned it into a C one. Maybe one of the cards was missing or broken and they had this as a spare, so they changed it. I'll have to see when I've put all the cards in if it checks out. But, also, that's a lot of corrosion on there. Okay, I've 3D printed a little clip as a test, which just pops in here. It uses this little hole and this slot that's here to clip in place, and it's pretty sturdy. So I'm gonna print some more of these so I can actually keep the cable in place, so it doesn't flap in the breeze all the time. And these also can be removed. They just clip on, so they're not glued or anything. So they are fairly easy to remove and put back, and they're super cheap to 3D print. It's barely a gram of filament. So well, that's looking very neat. So I think that's about ready to be put back into the Elka. And yeah, that's also the ending of episode 4, because this is finished, it's working. In the next episode I'm gonna start tackling the either the cords or the filters for the outputs. Probably the outputs, so I can fix and test the filters and actually have proper audio outputs for this part. And then I'll probably move on to the chords. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment and subscribe and all that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.